A list of mania. Think less but see it grow.
Hello everybody, it's the Lawn Gnome and welcome to December's 10 for 12. If you're new to my channel, first of all, welcome, and let me give you an understanding of what 10 for 12 is. Basically, it's my monthly segment that I've been doing for quite a number of years now. I think we're going on 4 years, where I do a top 10 list each month about a specific topic of my choosing. But more importantly, it's a great way for me to reach out to other YouTubers and collab with them on a common ground. And this month is going to be no different. I had the opportunity to work again with my friend Jenni over at her channel Jenni King, and for the first time I will be working with Cherrie over at Cherrie Walker, two wonderful YouTubers in the booktube community who have amazing interests, wonderful taste, and Cherrie has the most adorable little girl. She actually featured her in one of her videos, and it was such a pleasure to finally meet her, and she is definitely one proper young lady. So I want to thank them both for joining me on this topic, especially because of the fact that every single year in December, I like to do a reoccurring theme, and it's events that shaped the past year. Since we're coming to a close on 2016, I always like to take a look at 10 events, whether it was serious or fun, in any field of news that I really felt made an impact on our nation, on the world even, and more importantly on myself as a whole. And the good thing is that we all have the opportunity today to really do what we choose. Last year I had the opportunity to work with another great YouTuber, Stacy over at Stacy Wilson, and her topics were feel-good stories. And that's what I'm trying to say. A 10 for 12, especially when it comes to these topics, can really be what you feel is right for you. You could do actual news stories, you could do personal stories. I mean, I could say that some of the best things that happened to me this year was, my marriage, moving to a new place, a new job with some amazing opportunities, not to mention my vastly growing collection of Funko Pops. But I feel that when I talk about news stories, it really makes me more reflective of the past year and really try and understand if it was a really good year and what can we do to make the next year an even better one. So, without further ado, here come the 10 events that shaped 2016. And I also want to let everybody know that this could be a little bit touchy because there are a couple of topics that a lot of people have a lot to say about, but I'm not going to go into too much detail. The number 10 is what I like to call Dicks Out for 2016. And that, of course, is the story of Harambee the gorilla that we all saw in the news of a young boy who fell into the gorilla pen at this zoo, and the gorilla ended up dragging him even though he most likely was protecting the boy. A lot of people looked at it as posing a threat, and instead of tranking the gorilla, they shot the gorilla. But it was more so what happened after that, because he basically became Jesus. Harambee basically gave us new definition to the meme on social media. And that is why I feel that he was something that is definitely important to talk about in regards to the culmination of 2016, simply because of the internet sensation that he ended up becoming. Number 9 is called Gotta Catch 'Em All, and that, of course, is the revolutionary app of Pokemon Go. Not only was it based on a franchise that was very famous and very popular, but it was the first app game that actually used satellites and Google Maps for the sake of getting people to actually go out and walk around to play games. And it was definitely something that people found revolutionary, although it didn't really carry on as much as most people would have liked it to, but it's a game that I actually got into because of the fact that I felt that I wanted to lose a little bit of weight. And it's still something that I like to do. I do like to go out on my lunch break and walk around, and I feel that the impact definitely was a good one, and it definitely was something that defined this year. Number 8 is called The Magic Returns, and of course it is because of the screenplay book that was released in the summer of the 8th story in the Harry Potter saga called Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which of course is based on a what most people like to call a fan fiction sequel to the 7 Harry Potter books. There were people that loved it, there were people that trashed it, but people still have read it and people have gone to see the play. I myself have no interest in reading it because I am going to go on the side that says it will basically ruin the franchise for you, but at the same time, we did get a little bit of redemption when Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them began a brand new 5-movie saga in the Thanksgiving holiday season with Eddie Redmayne, so while the magic may have not returned in the greatest of lights in the beginning, it definitely has finished the year on a high note. Number 7 is called Have a Cigar, a Cuban Cigar. If there's one thing that I feel that President Obama will be remembered by, it's the fact that after so many years, the relations between the United States and Cuba have finally become positive. We saw the first domestic flights go to Cuba this summer. We saw so many positive and hopeful things when people were being reunited with relatives as they went to this nation that has been basically blocked away from the United States because of communist rule. But at the same time, we also saw a change in the tide when Fidel Castro actually passed away. And through that, we also have to talk about a lot of losses that we had this year. We had everything from popular icons like Florence Henderson and David Bowie to major impactful people like the former Senator John Glenn. We lost so many people that really shaped our history, for the good, maybe for the bad, but they truly will all be remembered. Number 6 is the Olympics go viral. Yes, the 2016 Olympics in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil did happen, and we had some amazing events like Michael Phelps winning more gold medals to the final 5 winning it all in the gymnastics competition. But we also had another little thing that chose to crash the party, and it was the outbreak of the Zika virus. Something that terrified a whole bunch of people, especially when it came to pregnant women, and it was definitely something that made a major impact, not just because of the Olympics, but it was ironic to know that this all took place right when the Olympics were fast approaching. Like, all of a sudden, everybody's not entirely excited because of a whole bunch of other stories that they talked about in regards to Brazil's water supply, but all of a sudden, here's a virus that shows up in the vicinity. But I don't know what's going to happen in regards to the virus, but what I do know is I am looking forward to the next Olympic Games. The next one I want to talk about, which is number 5, and that is The King Delivers. LeBron James has been praised, he has been trashed, but when he came back to Cleveland, who would have thought that he actually would fulfill his promise by bringing Cleveland, a city in the United States that has had so many woes for decades with their sports teams, finally have a reason to get up and cheer because the Cleveland Cavaliers won their very first NBA championship title, and it is because of LeBron James, who really fought tooth and nail against an extremely talented and young Golden State Warriors team to finally give Cleveland a reason to say, Cleveland rocks. And ironically, a little bit more of that positivity would follow to a certain extent, which we'll get into a little bit later. Number 4 is going to be one of those sensitive topics, and I call it Black and Blue Lives Matter. And that is because of the fact that there's been a lot of racial tension. And this year was probably the worst because we saw so many black people on the news getting shot by police officers. It involved a lot of protests, a lot of slogans like hands up, don't shoot, and it's something that's also sparked a lot of controversy between people, and it is also something that was a major cause for concern for the presidential election this past year. And what I can say is there are things that I truly understand in regards to this. There may be some people that I don't agree with because they take certain things to the extreme, but what I do believe in is that everybody, no matter what your skin color is, should be treated like a decent human being, and that also includes whether you wear a badge or not. Number 3 is called The Pulse of the Country. We saw one of the worst terrorist attacks happen this year at the Pulse nightclub in Florida. It was an even more important thing to discuss because it was a terrorist attack that attacked the gay community. And there were a lot of innocent people that suffered, and a lot of people lost loved ones. And this goes back to a whole bunch of times in the past when I've talked about the war on terror. This is serious and this is real, people, and one of the things that people still don't seem to understand is, even though I know for a solid fact that not every Muslim is a terrorist, we still have to understand that there are extremists in that sect that want to see the end of Western life, that want to see the end of women's rights, that want to see the end of homosexuality existence, amongst other things. We have to show love, but we also have to show solidarity for our freedoms and our liberties. And we have to make sure that we do everything that we can to stop these negative influences from giving a whole people a bad name, but more importantly, showing a little bit of sympathy and welcome to those who truly are against the extremists. Number 2 is Goats No More. You know that I mentioned Cleveland Rocks? Well, the Cleveland Indians, their baseball team, thought that they were going to be able to carry on the magic when they got to the World Series for the very first time since 1998. But who would have anticipated that they were going to be facing the Chicago Cubs? I was one of those people. Even though the Mets crushed the Cubs in a 4-game sweep in last year's NLCS, I had friends from Chicago who were diehard Cubs fans, and I said that your team is too good and not claw their way back to the World Series next year. And you know what? They got there. It was a roller coaster of a series. I was excited to see both of these teams. Either one would have been fine winning the championship because both of these cities were so deserving. But when I found out that the Chicago Cubs won the World Series, because that Game 7 was so aggravating, I couldn't even stay up because it was so late when the rain delay hit. But the Cubs won. Chicago rejoice after over 100 years of billy goats, of black cats. The Cubs are now officially world champions, and I am so happy to know that I have actually been alive to witness 3 baseball teams break their curse. I have a feeling that Cleveland is not too far behind with gaining a World Series very soon. And the number 1 topic that shaped the world in 2016, the screwballs have spoken. And that, of course, means the presidential election. Now, that doesn't mean that people who voted for Donald Trump are called screwballs. I called it that because of an old Simpsons episode. Because if there's one thing that I know about the presidential election, I feel positive, even though, and I'm not ashamed to say, that I didn't vote. And I am someone who does not like politics at all. But this was an election that meant a lot because the nation was really at a standstill. Nobody knew what was going to happen in the coming years, especially with the 2 candidates. While I didn't intend to get involved, I got involved. And I looked really deep into what these 2 people stood for. And even though I believe that Donald Trump is not the best candidate for the Republican Party and not the best person to lead the country, it's the values that he represents, not all, but some, that I truly appreciate and agree with. And that is secure borders, improvement on the economy, and more importantly, getting jobs back to this country so we can be producers again and not rely on other countries to do our work for us. And I feel that he is, whether you like the guy or not, is going to unite this nation. I have a really strong feeling that he will. And I feel that once we all finally come together as one and embrace the next 4 years with a little bit of caution, don't fully go in there with blind eyes, proceed with caution. It would have been the same thing either way, but let's at least agree that we have to be persistent, we have to be confident, and we gotta work our asses off to give ourselves the finest things that we want in life. And especially since I am going into this year as a married man with a woman that I truly care about, the outlook for the future looks bright, and I will do my hardest to make sure that we have a good life. So that's it, everybody. These are the 10 events that shaped 2016 for me, and I once again want to thank Jenni and Cherrie for joining me on this. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys chose for your 10, and I'm hoping that you all go into this coming year with positivity, and nothing but good people and good thoughts surrounding you. So I will see you guys in the next year, everybody, for another 12 episodes of 10 for 12. Actions speak louder than words.